Welcome to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten. Hi, I'm Wendy. After I graduated with my master's in wellness management, I started my own company, T2 Coaching, Health, Fitness, and Sport. And I'm Kirsten, an athlete, vegan, life coach, and girl mom, running a business focused on helping others create a life they love. We are here to explore all things wellness to help you become the person you've always wanted to be. So if that's why you're here, open your ears and your mind as we tackle the world of wellness together. Hi, everybody. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Kirsten. How are you?
I'm doing good. I just I just had to start reloading our podcast from last week, which I usually schedule to post at 6 a.m. on Thursdays, and it's now 10:30 on Thursday. And my new internet is really, really slow. So I just have to adapt to that and find ways around it. So I think for next week, and when I do things like this, I can just do this when I'm at my daughter's jujitsu or when I'm at the gym when there's more internet. So I'm just going to have to adapt.
Good idea.
So we'll see what happens. What's your wellness win for the week?
Well, it always makes me really happy when my wellness win has to do with other athletes that I know and coach when they have success. So I actually just posted on my Instagram the success of a woman who I've known probably 5, 6, 7 years at Lifetime. I did some private lessons with her, I think before COVID, and then COVID happened and it ended that when she came back. And she was swimming alone because of COVID. So she was swimming alone, always wanted a master swim program at Lifetime. So we're going on 5, 6 years ago. And I tried to start a master swim program on and off, didn't have the support, kind of let it go until recently. On February, I started coaching masters at Lifetime Swim in Woodstock. And she found out, and she was over the moon about it. And I'm like, why do you want to swim masters? Because not every master's program is created equally. And so she was like, just to swim with people. And again, I'm like, you're the second person that joined. So there's not really many people. And she wanted to get faster. And I'm like, well, swimming masters isn't a guarantee to get faster. It just depends who the coach is, how consistent you are, how much you understand. Because there's more involved in swimming masters just to get faster. Anyways, I've done this when I used to coach masters in Fort Collins, Colorado. The first swim practice of every month, I would always do an assessment, a time trial. For these guys, I used to do a 1K time trial for more advanced, but for these, I call them my Masters Light. And I do a 400 per time and a 200 per time because it's part of the critical swim speed test. We do it the first practice of every month. So we did it on March 3rd, the first day she started. We did it on April 4th. We did it on May 5th. So 2 months into it, she went from 12 minutes to 10 minutes to 8 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So her 400 time has dropped a 4 minutes in 2 months. And that's a 400. That's not a very far swim, but that's a significant drop in time. And I'm just so proud of her and so impressed because, again, it's important to, when you want to see results. I mean, there's more to progress than just a time drop. But for most people, especially beginners, they see progress is an increase in time or the decrease in time, an increase in speed, efficiency, technique, yada, yada, yada. So that was definitely a huge wellness win for me because that was not expected. When she dropped 2 minutes after a month, I'm like, that's a huge drop in time.
Yeah.
It probably won't happen again so soon. And it did. So definitely very proud, definitely a huge wellness win as a coach.
Ooh, that is, and it'll be exciting to see it. Like, it's probably not going to drop 2 minutes every month, but she'll probably still see some progress. So that's exciting to keep watching. And it's a good reminder.
Yeah, and I want to throw in there when I started running again after my broken patella, I was dropping pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, at this rate, I'm going to be, a 16-minute 5K in 3 months.
Right.
No, it doesn't happen like that. Progress is not so linear like that, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that is. And it's a good reminder, you guys, that, and we've talked about SMART goals before. We've mentioned it several times, but if you have a goal that's measurable, even if your goal isn't to be faster, the time is a good measure of your efficiency and your effectiveness. So to have something solid like that, like and just instead of just saying like I want to be a better swimmer, that's really hard to gauge. And so to have something specific like doing a time trial, I'm famous for having my swimmers and my clients do time trials all the time in all areas, and swim, bike, run, like go do your every 2 months do a 5K, or because you want to see that all your hard work is doing something.
Yeah. And again, as a beginner who doesn't understand everything involved with progress, it's good to see the drop in time. And then I have another swimmer who's been pretty consistent. He added time, but this is a huge but, negates the added time. He looks like a completely different person. So even though he's added time, he's in the big picture, he's a more efficient swimmer. He's got better alignment, better body balance, better breathing technique. It's just like when you change so many things at once, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get faster, because then you have to get faster at the new technique. So
Right.
And he knows that, and he's not mad or anything. He's like really happy. He still comes, and so that's kind of another extreme of she's dropped 2 minutes each time. He's added a little bit each time, but then you look at all the factors: eating, sleeping, fueling, stress level. That's all going to impact your ability to get faster as well, not just showing up on the day.
Yeah, I did my friend Ashley and I did a sprint triathlon this morning indoors at the gym. And I got on the bike after my swim. My swim's kind of what it always is. It's always between like 11:47 and 12:05. It's like very like always in that little like 15-second. And I got on the bike and I was like, I felt awesome. And I was really surprised because I've been really fatigued lately overall ever since we moved, and just like the added stress, like you talked about, just added stuff going on. And I got on the bike and I started going at like a moderate effort. And I looked down and I was holding like 190 watts. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be my fastest time trial ever. And then like 5 minutes later, it was like my average just started slipping lower and lower, but my effort was going up higher and higher. And by the end, my average watts were like 138. So I was like, I feel so good for 5 minutes. And all of a sudden I was like, oh crap, my legs are tired. I was just like, had this little burst of energy. And then I was thinking, my 5K is going to be awful because my legs are so like heavy and tired. And then I got on the treadmill and I felt amazing again. And so my run was decent. Not like, yeah. So it's just, energy level, muscle fatigue, sleep, all the things are going to affect your effort and your results. And just doing it consistently, like my goal for any time trial I do is just to work hard. And if I work hard, if my effort is at 8 or 9 out of 10, but my time doesn't reflect that, I still accomplished what I set out to do in that time trial, because I'm not going to be faster like you said, with your running. If you're faster every single time you run, you're going to be an Olympian in 5 years, but that's not the case. So comparing it to, even because I do the sprint triathlon every month. So I don't even compare. I used to always compare, like I always wanted to get faster, but that just isn't a thing to always get faster. So I'm happy just my
You're not
time.
the same person you were in mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a whole different situation. So I'm always like, if my time is around like within this range and I'm working really hard, then it was a big success.
Right. And if I was your coach in seeing those time trials, I'd always be like, what was your effort last month? This is the results. What was your effort this month? What was your sleep like? What did you do the day before? What did you do the week before? Because a month apart, unless you did the same training or if you had the same lifestyle, same stress level, you're just a different person. So there's just, that's the benefit of coaching. We're kind of looking at the big picture of your life and your training log. It's really important to keep a training log of subjective details, because that's kind of, we know as a coaches and our experience what we're looking for in not only the data, just in your life in general, and pointing things out to athletes that they're not thinking about is really helpful. That a coach
Yeah.
does.
And I like to, so I'm coaching this guy right now, and he's doing the Boulder 70.3, which is in like 5 weeks or something really close. And I had him swim the whole 1.2 miles, because he, like your guy, I taught him kind of a whole new technique for swimming. And he's like, oh my gosh, I have so much more confidence. I'm so excited about this time trial. And then he did the time trial. I'm like, how did it go? And he was like, oh, I thought it was going to be much faster. And I said, well, how did it feel? And he said, it actually felt really good. And so this was 2 weeks ago. So last week I had him do 1,000 time trial, and I told him to increase his effort at that same new swim stroke. And so he did the 1,000 time trial. And now that he had done the 2,000 time trial, he knew that he could sustain a little bit higher effort in this new stroke that he didn't have the confidence to do the week before. So his 1,000, he was like, oh my gosh, it was so much faster per 100. He worked a little bit harder, and now he has the confidence to do his 2K swim next week with that speed and confidence, because like your guy, he's just learning this new stroke. So his body wasn't sure, like, can I maintain this for this amount of time? So I had asked them for his 2,000, what was your RPE? And he said probably like a 7 or 8. And I said, what if you did like an 8 or 9? And he did that, and it was faster. So now when he goes back to his 2,000 next week, he'll have that confidence from the 1,000, and will probably get the time that he anticipated that he would have gotten the first time he did it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's great stuff, data. My wellness win, I was thinking about it before we got on, because I've had a lot of great things happen this week. But I think as a whole, my wellness win is I just have some really amazing people in my life. And for me, that means that I'm a decent person, that I'm attracting these people. And it's really neat to feel so much support no matter what I'm doing or going through. I just feel like I have a lot of people in my court, and I feel safe to be who I am with all my people. And that's just such a wellness win, because I talk to people that don't have that kind of support in their lives. And I think that would make my life a lot harder. So I'm very grateful for all the amazing people I have in my corner. And that is a huge wellness win. That's a huge life win.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So thank you guys for being in my life. All right. So I had listened to an interview with Stacey Sims, and I know I knew who she was before this, and I've read some of her stuff, but I didn't really go into a lot of depth with it, and mostly just like concepts. And Wendy's much more familiar with her work than I am. But I heard this interview with her. It was like 2.5 hours long, and it got me thinking about a couple things. Number one, how little we know about actual data in women for overall wellness, and how, as we're learning more and more about the differences between women and men in just the whole wellness space, how things are evolving. And I wanted to talk about some of the things that I was surprised about. And Wendy won't be as surprised about them, since she's a little more familiar with Stacey Sims. But I think that it's worth mentioning and talking about that a lot of the data for things like hot and cold therapies, fasting, strength training, nutrition, a lot of the studies and data are collected using men. And then they just think that, oh, well, if it's this for men, then we'll just make a couple modifications to fit with women, instead of actually doing the studies on women. So now there's a push to do more of these studies on women, and they're realizing and finding out that we are not just mini versions of men. And so we wouldn't necessarily have the same protocols for wellness overall. So, Wendy, you have been following Stacey Sims for a while. So who is she?
So Dr. Stacey Sims is an exercise physiologist who she's written two books, one called Women Are Not Small, no, Roar, ROAR, Women Are Not Small Men. And then her other book, The Next Level. I think I read that 2 years ago. So I read both of them years ago, like probably over 10 years ago. My friend Christy sent me the Roar book. And then, 2 years ago, I read The Next Level book. Again, a recommendation by another female friend of mine. And so she's been around for a while, but I think she's been getting a lot of press lately over the last maybe, 2, 3, 4 years since her second book came out, because she talks a lot about menopause and perimenopause, which when I went through it, I went through perimenopause. I started 10 years ago, and I've been through menopause, but back then, like, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know about signs and symptoms and anything like that. So it's definitely a hot topic right now. And so, again, me not being the expert like she is, I usually defer to her books, some podcasts that I've listened to with her, because she's interviewed on a lot of podcasts. So even though I've heard about her, 10 years ago, she's still getting a lot of press about her studies and her data with women and their hormonal changes and how that impacts training, how it impacts what and when they should eat and how much they should eat, as well as those other therapy protocols. Cold plunging, in the Next Level book, she says women shouldn't go on cold water colder than 55, and she explains all the physiology behind that and all the hormonal issues with that. And so, yeah, that's who she is. And when Kirsten first wanted me to do this podcast, I'm like, I got nothing to contribute. I don't know what to say, because of Stacey Sims says it all. And at the same time, through reading her stuff, especially the first book into the second book, I realized, a lot of the stuff that she advocates and her protocols for women, I feel like I already was doing, but I didn't know I was supposed to. I didn't know the benefits of lifting heavy weights, of eating a certain way, of eating a certain amount of protein every time you eat. And so my symptoms that I had with perimenopause and menopause, I think were very mild relative to most women I know.
Right. And that's actually my biggest, from this 2.5 hour interview, the reason I came to Wendy and I was like, hey, we should talk about this, is because some of you guys don't have time to read her whole book or read her other book or even listen to a 2.5 hour interview. And if you're interested in the data and science behind it, then you can look it up, because like Wendy said, like, we're not the experts. What I wanted to do was just summarize a few of the things that I found interesting that I didn't necessarily know about. And the first thing that I really noticed in listening to this interview is that exactly what Wendy just said was my experience. So I went through perimenopause, menopause, and didn't have a lot of really glaring symptoms like most people, like a lot of my friends are going through right now. And in listening to all her ideas, or it's not just her ideas, it's based on data and research, but listening to what she says to do to help alleviate some of these symptoms, I was already doing them all, same as Wendy, unbeknownst to me that they were helping. So I wanted to mention a couple of those, because some of them I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But some of them I had no idea about. So the first thing that really surprised me is she was talking about fasting. And I had listened to so many podcasts and interviews and read research about intermittent fasting over the last 10 years, because it started becoming a big thing. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a coach. I had a lot of people asking about it. So I read a book called Eat, Stop, Eat. And then I just started kind of digging into the benefits of fasting. And it always made so much sense to me that we need our digestive system to rest. We need this, that. It helps with with elongating our life, elongating the telomeres, like all the stuff, it made sense to me. But me personally, I knew it didn't make sense for me, for a couple reasons. One reason is, being an endurance athlete, I don't feel good if I'm exercising with nothing in my stomach. That just makes me not feel good. The other thing is, 20 years ago, when I started recovering from my eating disorder stuff, my number one non-negotiable I gave to myself was to eat breakfast. So I eat breakfast every morning when I wake up, regardless of how hungry I am, regardless of what I ate the night before. Last night after swim practice, it was so late. I ate mac and cheese at swim practice because it's employee appreciation week, and the cat's bringing everyone food, and she made us this big thing of plant-based mac and cheese. So I was like, oh, this will be my dinner. I got home, I ate a bag of chips, and then I went to bed. So I didn't wake up hungry at 4:15 when I worked at 5:30, but I still ate a bowl of oatmeal and drank my shake. So my reasons for not fasting didn't have anything to do with me not believing in what the benefits are. But then listening to Stacey talk about it and her research, women, especially perimenopausal women, fasting messes up a lot of our hormones, our circadian rhythm. Women who are in any sort of changing hormone situation should be eating within 30 minutes of waking up, even if it's just like a banana. Or she started putting like a scoop of protein in her coffee because she wanted her coffee, but she wanted the calories and the carbs. So she would put like a scoop of protein powder in her coffee. So you don't have to eat a big, huge 3-course meal for breakfast, but putting something in your body, right within 30 minutes of waking up for women has a lot of positive effects. On the other end of that, you don't want to be eating at 9 or 10 p.m. and then waking up at 5 and eating, because you do need to give your body that break. But she says for women, it's better to eat at like your last meal at 6. Don't eat anything after, like eat your regular dinner, eat it early, go to bed, let your body recover, let your digestive system recover, let that be your 12-hour fast, and then break your fast first thing in the morning.
Right. I want to jump in there. So in 2022, I was training for Ironman Florida. So in 2021, I was training for Ironman Florida. Dawn was doing intermittent fasting, and I decided I want to try it. So in June, June, the race was in November. So I think it started in June and July. I was trying it. I slowly incorporated it where my first meal was at 10:30. My first meal was at 12, and I'm an early morning trainer. So I was able to manage my training and not eat until afterwards. And it was a process. It didn't, sometimes I'm like, oh, it's noon. This is the first time I'm training. I got to eat something. But I wouldn't eat until I would just start my workout. And I tried it because people were asking me about it. And so it helps me to do the thing that people want to know about, not only reading the research and the studies, but I want to experience what they're going to experience. So I started doing it, and I was surprised how successful I was, because after I had been manipulating it and slowly starting to eat at 2:00 in the afternoon, but then I would eat all the way up until bed. I wanted to see if I could do it, and I could. I was actually training amazing. I was able to do these 60-mile rides, and then I'd eat a snack, and then I'd go run, and then I'd eat my first meal. So I was surprised how I adjusted. And then probably with a month out until race day, I scrapped it and I started doing my normal fuel intake, my pre-training meal, stuff like that. So I got to experience it for a few months. And I thought, for me, I don't know what it did for me, but I just thought it worked for me. But what I do for myself now works for me. So I wasn't looking for something new. I just wanted to try a new diet regime, so I knew what other athletes were experiencing. Number 2, the whole stopping eating at 6:00. Someone like me could never do that. If I'm coaching until 7:30 and I get home at 7:30, I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't eat. It's past 6 o'clock. Stacey Sims told me not to eat after 6 o'clock. You just do the best you can and be mindful of when you're eating, how much you're eating, and maybe you could eat a bigger meal earlier in the day and eat a lighter meal later in the day. And again, same with, if you eat at 9 and you're up at 5 and you're just got the next 3 or 4 hours are very hectic, don't not eat because Stacey Sims told you not to eat before 5 a.m. Just again, being mindful and trying to make small adjustments based on your own lifestyle to try to incorporate the tips that she suggests, especially if you're someone who's struggling. An athlete I started coaching, a few months ago, I recommended Stacey's book. So this athlete who used to fast and not eat breakfast started putting the scoop of protein in her coffee and ate a banana and a scoop of protein. And I'm like, why are you doing that? She goes, oh, because Stacey Sims told me. And my athlete said it made a world of difference. She started like dropping weight without even trying, just by eating earlier in the day than what she was used to. And she started having more energy for her workouts. And she went from doing her first indoor triathlon to her first sprint to all of a sudden saying a half Ironman is possible because I know how to fuel my body now. And she, again, just taking the recommendations from Stacey Sims, going through perimenopause, she felt like a brand new person.
Yeah. So my Whoop device that I wear, it tells me like what affects my sleep and what affects my recovery over time, because I have a journal, I put everything in. And one of the very main things is if I eat earlier, my big meal earlier in the day, and go to bed without have eaten for a few hours, my body recovers a lot better and I sleep a lot better. And so, like you said, those of you who want to do that, I have on Wednesday is my only day I work really late. And so at 3 o'clock, I'll have my big meal. Like whatever I'm eating, it's a big meal. And then when I coach, I bring a protein bar, a banana, some dried pineapple. I bring snacks. And then I snack throughout when I'm coaching. So when I get home at 9 o'clock, I'm not eating my big meal. And when I do that, even though I get less sleep on Thursday nights because on Wednesday nights because I work early Thursday, my body is always more recovered because of that. So like Wendy said, you experiment and figure out what works for you. The fasting thing, the making sure that you have some space between dinner and breakfast and you eat early, that's most beneficial. The not super long fast, but just that little fast in the perimenopause situation. So Wendy and I are past that. So our bodies might respond a little bit differently. So like Wendy said, she tried the fasting thing. She felt amazing. And so, but that's one of the things that in Stacey's interview, she said, this is because what it does is it shifts your circadian rhythm and messes with your hormones. So your hormones are already being messed with in perimenopause. And so to add something that messes with them more is usually where those uncomfortable symptoms come up for women. And so that's the time she talked about to really, not do those really long fasts, to maybe do earlier dinner, eat within 30 minutes of waking up to lessen those symptoms. So that's, I think, a good thing to remember too. And like Wendy said, everyone is different and you have to work with your own body. But if you pay attention to what's going on with your body, you're going to be able to make adjustments that work for you. And along with the food thing, and you can add to this too, Wendy, the other thing she says is, and this is, I bet, what your client you just talked about, who started eating breakfast, most women are underfueling anyway. And so that's going to give lack of nutrition. It's going to mess with hormones. It's going to mess with hunger cues, and it's going to mess with the nutrients you need for your body to work effectively. So that may be another reason why Wendy and I didn't feel huge changes going on when we were both in perimenopause, is because both of us eat very well-rounded. We eat enough. And so we get a lot of nutrients through our diets.
I want to jump in the nutrient part of it. So when I read Next Level, she had a portion on listing supplements to use. I don't know a lot of the names, but I suspected this, and I think I shared this with you a few years ago, is we've been drinking this product called Shakeology since 2011, 2007, long time.
Yeah.
I don't remember when I started. It's been a long time. And it's a meal replacement, but I don't replace a meal with it. It's my recovery shake. It's called Shakeology. And all these ingredients that she was talking about for supplemental and the benefits of supplementing with these supplements were ingredients in Shakeology. So that's something that, again, we have been doing. We've been incorporating these supplementation substances that she recommends in our Shakeology, which was like, oh, I've been doing that for years and I didn't even know it.
Right. Right. And the other thing so moving away from nutrition, another thing that she talks about that Wendy and I have talked about extensively on different episodes, so we don't need to go into too much depth. But another thing that Wendy and I have been doing for our whole lives that she recommends to people is A, movement, exercise, just moving your body, getting your blood flowing. B, strength training, especially if you have not started strength training, start strength training. But C, heavy lifting. So heavier lifting means that it would be challenging for you to get 10 reps of this weight in. So if you pick up 10-pound dumbbells and you're doing a shoulder press, and at like 5 or 6, you start slowing down and your muscles are about to fail because you can't lift them up again, then that would be considered heavy strength training. And then the final thing was that Wendy and I do that she talks about is getting away from that like zone 3 training. So for lifting, that would be like a common thing is like 3 sets of 10. If you can do easily 3 sets of 10 weights, then that's comparable to like that just kind of zone 3 moderate training that we all do too much of. So she talks about doing kind of that zone 2, some lower stuff when you're resting, and then that zone 4, 5, higher stuff when you're working. So that's why HIIT is really effective. That's why endurance athletes a lot of times do the 80-20, where it's 80% zone 2-ish, 20% zone 4, 5-ish. But if you spend too much time on that middle of the road stuff, which I think a lot of women do for strength training, then you're not going to get the benefits of the strength training or the recovery. You're just kind of sitting in like a medium zone where you're just wearing yourself out.
Absolutely.
So
again, it's important. I just want to point out, it's important if you've never done a strength training, go through, like a little 4-week program where you are lifting light, get your muscles, tendons, ligaments adapted. You don't want to just all of a sudden go from 0 to heavy in one day. So again, go through that little periodization where you're starting light, just going through the motions, getting form. Movement is so important. Making sure you have the right movement patterns going on, and then let your body adapt and then start to lift heavy. I think sometimes, if you don't come from a strength training background or an exercise background, you just start too much too soon and then you're sore, you're injured. And then you're like, I was told to lift heavy and this is what happened. So always go through the proper movement before you start lifting heavy.
Yes. If you're not sure what to do, just go to your gym, go to a rec center, talk to a personal trainer, even just doing a consultation. But one of the things I do as a personal trainer is I have a lot of people. I would say 90% of the people that come to me, it's not somebody that wants every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, let's meet for a session. That's not what they want. They want exactly what Wendy just said. I heard I'm supposed to lift heavy. I heard I'm supposed to start lifting. I don't know what to do. So I set them up on a program and I tell them the first 6 weeks is habit building. So I call that phase habit building because it's exactly what Wendy just said, teaching your body the patterns and the movements and the habits of working in this way start to get some mobility and some stability in your body, start to just teach your brain that muscle memory of moving in this certain way, so that when you do start adding heavier weights, less reps, then you're not going to get injured and you're going to get the benefit of it. So for sure, if you have not lifted before, or you haven't lifted in a long time, you need that 4 to 6 weeks of habit building and base training, just like if you were starting a run program. You're not going to go, I haven't run in 10 years. I signed up for this half marathon. Wendy and I aren't going to be like, oh, well, let's get you on the treadmill and do a speed workout. We're not going to do that. We're not going to have you maxing out your speed or doing intervals if you don't have a base of fitness. So you're always starting off, whether it's cardio, strength, anything, make sure you're starting with a solid base of fitness.
Yeah. And that's what the zone 2 training does. The zone 2 training is going to give you that endurance-based fitness. So your body, everything in your body is ready to do that high intensity.
Yeah. Awesome. And then the third thing I wanted to talk about, and you could talk about probably this more, because all I remember from the podcast, I was going to listen again, but I didn't have time, is she did talk a lot about heat and cold therapies, because that's such a thing right now. Like Wendy and I work at Lifetime, and all of the Lifetimes I've been to, other than one in the past year, have converted one of their hot tubs into a cold plunge. So almost any Lifetime you go to, it's going to have a cold plunge and a hot tub. And then there's typically a sauna, like a unisex sauna out in the open. And then there's also saunas and steam rooms in the locker rooms of most Lifetimes. So they're really promoting that heat training and cold training because it's such a talked about thing. And Wendy and I have talked about the cold training, why she does it, what are some benefits, what she doesn't necessarily do it for the physical benefits. She does it for her mental benefits. So in that case, anything you're doing for a mental benefit, keep doing. But the research has always been mixed with heat and cold therapies. And Stacey Sims talked, like Wendy mentioned in the beginning, that cold therapies aren't necessarily the best for women when it's too cold. But she also talks a lot about the heat therapies and how they are different for women than men. But there's more data for women that they're more beneficial, some of the hot therapies, than the cold therapies.
Yeah, I mean, so the whole cold therapy, I mean, if people follow me on social media, you guys know from November up until about March, I'm going in very cold water, as low as 36-degree water. I'm not staying in there very long. And the 36-degree water, I may be in there 30 seconds to a minute. So like, I'm aware of what she has said, women shouldn't go under 55 degrees, but I'm also aware of the reason where I'm doing it. It's a challenge. It's fun. It's exciting. Wakes me up. But I'm not in there very long. I saw women, I've had these discussions with women who were going in like 50 degrees for like 10 minutes. And we talked about what Stacey Sims suggests and the reason it's probably not giving you the benefit that you think it is. And I also recently, again, I'm kind of still learning new things. When you talking about hot and cold, you don't want to go in cold water after a strength workout if you're trying to build muscle, because the cold water will prohibit muscle growth. And you do want to go in the sauna. It's beneficial to go in the sauna after a strength training session to promote muscle growth. So I've learned this from a lot of people at the gym I always see them going in the sauna after their weights. And I've talked to women who say, I don't go in the cold plunge after I lift weights because I don't want to limit my muscle growth. So that's just information that maybe people didn't know that I learned.
Yeah. And she taught Stacey in the interview I listened to, she talks about that. And I didn't know that either. I typically go in the cold plunge. It's like 50 degrees at Lifetime. And I do like to stay in there about 10 minutes. It makes me, if I like today, I did I didn't do a half Ironman. I did a sprint triathlon, and then my legs were really sore and tired. And then my friend Ashley and I went into the cold plunge. We actually specifically talked about exactly what you just said, that if you're going for muscle growth, and you shouldn't go right after the strength training, but we went right after we ran. And both of us, so we went in the cold plunge for about 10 minutes, and then we went into the hot tub for about 10 minutes to thaw out. And both of us walked out of there like, wow, my legs feel so much better. So again, listen to your body and see how these therapies are helping or hurting you. And if they're helping, keep doing it. And if they're not, then, you don't have to do it. But again, it wasn't our goal. We didn't just do heavy strength training, and our goal wasn't muscle growth. We were like, our legs are kind of tight and sore and tired. We just did this sprint triathlon, and we both walked out like, wow, my legs feel a lot better.
Yeah. And again, context is everything. Always be aware of why you're doing it. Know the purpose of it. Understand that. If you don't understand it, ask us, ask someone else. Don't just do what a random person that you don't have a trust with tells you to do. Again, I always point out in Facebook groups, all these random questions are asked in these triathlon or swim Facebook groups of trying to get advice from people that people don't even know. There's like 10,000 people in this group offering advice. And I'm like, who are you to offer me this advice or offer them the advice?
Is all over. It's all over the place. So like that would be more
all over the place.
So you read 20
absolutely
advices and they're all different.
Right. I mean, I go back to when we started learning by trial and error, not having a GPS watch, no Strava, no distance, just going by time, not knowing elevation gain or loss, not knowing how many miles you did. I mean, we learned we didn't have all this stuff to confuse us. I think now it may even be harder to train because of all the information out on the internet and social media could be very confusing versus if you didn't know anything and you just went and did something that you enjoy. And that's why enjoying your sport is so important, that you kind of try to get rid of the noise and just continue to go out and do what you enjoy and reap the benefits of doing it out of enjoyment.
Yes, 100%. And I was just talking with an athlete about this morning, and it's kind of something that was in that interview, since we're talking about that interview with Stacey Sims, is, people are like, oh, but what about this, when she talks about don't do all that like middle ground zone 3 stuff. And they're like, but that's when I get to like do the jog with my friends or run club or go to my right outside with my friends. And Wendy and I talked about this a couple weeks ago with the listener question about, riding outside. If there is something you do in your life that you do for the enjoyment and it's healthy and it's fun, keep those things in your life, because that's what it's all about. All the other stuff, making sure you're getting some high intensity training, lifting heavy weights, eating breakfast, like these are all going to help with your overall feeling great and your health and longevity and your wellness. But part of longevity and wellness is loving your life and loving your activities and feeling good. So those things are not discounted because they don't follow what somebody says is a specific plan. I feel like, and Wendy does too, which is why we do this podcast, which is a belief system we both hold and why we've both been in our sport for 30 plus years, is we do things that we enjoy and we love, and we fit in with what works with our life and what makes us feel alive and energetic and good.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, going on that, it's important to know when I'm, approached by a new athlete and we're talking about their training schedule, I like to know if they like to take a day off and what day that is. If they go to group training, such as a master swim, a group ride, or a group run, because that's important. I'm not going to say, no, you can't do those group activities because you're following a training plan. That's part of your training plan. You want to make sure you don't give up other life priorities, such as training with your friends is really important. To be out on your own, trying to do your own thing, when us as coaches, we can incorporate that type of training that you're doing with your friends into the plan. So you're able to still balance that hard and easy combination within your training plan to get ready to do your personal best performance.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Any final words of wisdom, Wendy?
No, it was a good podcast.
I know. I knew you. Yeah. Wendy was like, I don't know what I would say. I'm like, Wendy, it's all about women's health and wellness. That's your whole life. And just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's easy for everyone else. And you guys listening, you might be like, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. I never have heard it said that way in any of this stuff. And that's why Wendy and I do this, because we want to try to simplify some of the things that we hear and that you guys hear that are confusing, so that you take action and not just stand there confused.
Mm-hmm.
What are you most excited for the week?
2 things. One, I'm right now getting my car detailed. My husband bought me a car detailed. So we've been talking about getting another car. We've been talking about like buying a new car and maybe going down to be a 1-car family, because both of our cars, his car got hit. We hit a deer. The deer got up and ran away. I don't know if I told you this, but we hit a deer, and Don's front end was damaged a little bit from something else, and then hitting the deer damaged it more. And we were going the speed limit. I think by the time we didn't hit the deer hit us. By the time the deer hit us, I think we were at a stop. The deer went forward, but then it got up and ran away. Thank God. That's all I need to know is that it made it away. I don't know what happened afterwards. So my husband's car is in the body shop getting that fixed. And then my car, the brakes were going, we had to put some money into my car. And so since we decided, instead of having a monthly payment on a brand new car, because our cars are paid off, we're just going to fix up our cars and pretend they're brand new. And so my car is getting detailed. So I'm excited. It should be done maybe by the time we're off this podcast. I'm excited for that. It's like starting a new training plan.
Yeah.
I get excited for something new and different.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I'm going to Ironman Chattanooga 70.3. I coach, they don't know I'm going yet, so it's kind of a secret, but I coach a mother-son who are doing it. And then 3 or 4 of my athletes that I coach in Master Swim are doing it. So it makes it even that much more exciting that I know a lot more people this year. Last year I went and volunteered. I think I coached 1 athlete, but I mostly went to volunteer to see people, and I ended up seeing people from Colorado. It's just a really fun event. So this year I'm doing a 50K, and then I'm driving 4 hours to Chattanooga, because Chattanooga is the day after my 50K. So I may volunteer. I'm not sure yet. It just depends how I feel after my 50K. But I'm excited. I'm just excited to be part of it, because being part of an event and not racing brings me so much joy, and I have so much fun, and it just kind of keeps the triathlon energy within me.
Right.
Even though I don't compete in triathlon like I used to, I feel that same excitement and same energy when I go.
Yeah. That's awesome. I did a 5K last weekend, and my very favorite part was I ran an extra loop after, because I wanted to get in a little more training, and just cheering everyone on and like making other people smile. Like, I was running by and they're like, wait, didn't you already do this? I'm like, I came back to cheer you on. Right. And they're like, thank you. And I would stop, like, it was just an easy like jog. So I would stop and walk with people and talk with them and ask them questions and get to know them. And then, run over to the next person. And it was a fundraiser for the Hope House, which is teen moms. So it was all these younger girls, teenagers, with kids, and they all went out there, and most of them just walked pushing the stroller or like carrying their kids, and the kids are all running around. And it was just that was my favorite part of the whole race, was connecting with these people and cheering them on, and just spreading the love of running and fitness and being healthy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love it.
It is fun. My thing I'm most excited about is we have swim team about to start, my summer swim team I coach. We have 15 junior coaches. These are coaches that help us with the little kids. And we're doing a training with them to help them better understand how to coach and teach the younger kids. And we have 15 of them. And so far, they're all really excited and motivated, and they're making a really big commitment for the summer. And I've been building this program over the last 5 years, and this is the most older kids we've ever had for a swim season. Right now, we have 26 13 and up kids. And there's still a handful of people that still have to register. But 3 years ago, we had 65 8 and unders and 65 kids over 9. with only about 5 kids over 13. So the fact that we already have 26 kids over 13 and 15 of them want to be junior coaches is really exciting for me. So we have our training this weekend with the junior coaches, and I'm just excited to connect with them and keep them engaged so that they want to stay on our team. And a couple of them aren't even that into swimming anymore. They're coming back to be junior coaches. They're still going to swim, but they're not interested in training hard or competing at a high level. They just want to still be part of the team. And that was my whole goal of getting all these junior coaches to keep older kids involved on a summer swim team. Because if any of you guys have ever done summer swim team or coached or know about summer swim team, it starts off with a lot of little kids. And then as the age groups go up, less and less kids want to swim. They start doing other activities. They get jobs. They want to hang out with their friends and don't want to swim at 7 a.m. during the summer. So I'm really, really looking forward to helping them succeed and watch their leadership grow.
Awesome. That sounds amazing.
I know. It's so amazing. All right, you guys. Well, let us know what you think. Let us know if you have read any Stacey Sims stuff, anything we missed that you guys think is important. Let us know, because again, we do get lots of questions, and we're going to have another Ask Us Anything coming up. So we would love to hear from you.
Yay.
Yay. Thanks for being here. See you guys next time.
Make it a great day.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten.
If you want to learn more about us or anything we talked about today, check out the links in our show notes.
We would love to know what you think of our podcast and what you want more of. So drop us a comment, send us a message, and help us out by leaving us a rating and a review.
And don't forget to let us know your wellness win for this week.
Thanks for listening.
Make it a great day.